State Representative Tackey Chan of Quincy is joining us for another Tuesday edition of Tackey Talk. Hey, Tackey, how are you?
Hey Joe, good talking to you on a Tuesday again. Scheduling has been a little bit tricky this week again as we close in the close of session, which is about 15 days or so away as we come to the end. So the audience may be prepared for maybe skipping a week, or the day won't be a day that we normally talk to each other.
That's right. So, summertime, everything is off just a bit. Anyway, I'm having a hard time getting a hold of people because I think a lot of folks are away.
Well, at least I return your phone call, so
Always, always. I appreciate that. So yeah, last time we talked, actually, we were just on the verge of passing the economic development bond bill, which passed, right?
we did in the House, and it's gone to the Senate. We expect the Senate to probably debate it next week. We are closing in the very end, of course, as a conference committee to remind folks that under the House and Senate rules this cycle, bills that move to conference committee can be reported out after July 31st, but not other bills. So there's a lot of question marks over procedurally how this works because this is the first time we're doing this. Obviously, you schedule a session, and generally it's 24 hours notice. So for you all to know that while it's not necessarily have to be done this way, that if you file a conference report the day before, you have 24 hours from the time filed to vote on the said conference committee bill. So let's say it's filed at 7 p.m. You have 7 p.m. after 7 p.m. the next day to vote on it. Doesn't mean you have to do it that way. I don't believe so, but the practice in this place is that when the conference committee bill is filed, they will want to do it after the 24-hour mark on the next day. It is an up-down vote. There is no amendments. So you do not get to amend the bill. It is a straight in, straight out, up and down. We have some theoretical questions regarding what else could potentially happen on a conference report reporting session. This technically is a formal session, but we'll cross that bridge if we actually see the bridge.
Right.
As we go into the fall. But right now, my office, I've been discussing strategically what's going to look like for the remainder of the year. And we are anticipating maybe at least four, potentially four right now, conference committees going past July 31st.
Wow. Okay. All right. So how would this bill help economic development if it were to pass?
Yeah, it's about just under $500 million, give or take, bond. Of which about 150 million of that is reauthorizations, meaning the past authorizations expired. So we don't give the governor the ability to just borrow at will. We set up an authorization time period which will expire after the time period, where she will no longer use the money. So certain things like technology bonds in the past have expired, and all we did was do reauthorizations. It's a new bond, but not a new bond, so to speak.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then we have various outside sections regarding clarifying some issues on LLCs and corps and some fee adjustments. Oops, I knocked the computer. And I just reach over here because it's easier when you have pieces of paper in front of you. We talk about some stuff such as a video game tax credit. That is not a new thing, similar to the film tax credit and the theater tax credit.
Which one, Tackey? I'm sorry.
Video game tax credit.
Oh, yes.
Very similar to the same idea. We create some discount utility rates for large employers that come into Massachusetts to assist them. You guys know film tax credit is very dear to my heart. We've created a situation where it's right now a 1 year reporting deadline. We created a 2 year reporting deadline. Unlike other tax credits, it is a post approval credit, meaning that you have to show all the work is done before you can receive the credit. Other tax credits is pre. You apply for it before the process begins. So it's a very unusual tax credit in the sense it's post. We did something that's important to us in the committee. CPA licensing, certified public accountants are having some workforce problems. So we did some minor changes to education. You still have to have some education in accounting. We did not get rid of that. But we reflect the fact that, when this was first initiated, getting a bachelor's degree was more rare than commonplace. So, we also allowed substitute experience. If you actually work in accounting or similar type fields, you can sit for the exam as substitution for some of the education requirements. So,
okay, but they still have to take the exam. So
still have to take the exam. Home inspectors, we also workforce problem. We let licensed engineers to reduce their inspectional service hours by 50 hours for the purposes of license qualification. So basically, we still require qualifications of hours practice, but reduce the number because you're a licensed engineer. as we talked about mobile times, there's many sectors right now we're having a workforce problem.
Mm,
And also, as you guys know, I'm a technical update kind of guy. So
right.
these are two of the bills that we've been working in committee regarding that stuff. And some stuff that isn't me in the workforce is like nursing. You know, we don't do redundant testing for nurses that are already English proficient. So,
Yep.
you know, if you already speak English, why are we doing an English test? I mean, this should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah. Waste of time and money. Right. Yeah.
That's right. And then one of the other things that we talked about last time, which I'm looking for the sheet for right now, is regarding, we discussed this last time out and we actually got an answer for it this time, is regarding those smaller mechanical transport, AKA electric bikes.
Oh, yes. 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 Oh, good. Okay. Great.
So that was actually incorporated into this as well, where you now create with the proposal we have is create three categories of vehicles based on speed and where they're allowed to use said vehicles speed. So non-motorized can use sidewalks, motorized have to use the bike lanes.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you reach a certain speed limit, you're a roadworthy vehicle. So we create some greater clarification that we are requiring helmets for micro-powered and human-powered devices, basically bikes and small electric bicycles. And we're requiring an age minimum of age 16 for mechanized transportation, similar to driver's licenses, you know, in the same idea. I've got paper all over the place right now.
And this is the House version, just to be clear.
Yeah, the Senate has done this yet. This is actually different from the governor's in many ways because we're much more comprehensive. For example, we get into 0 to 20 miles. We talk about human powered vehicles and other mobility devices. So you like a mechanized wheelchair.
Mm-hmm.
That's considered a 0 to 20 miles. If you're 21 to 30 miles, we talk about e-bikes that are much faster and other similar mopeds and those type of vehicles. 31 to 40 miles is kind of limited use motorcycles. Is basically next tier of speed. And of course, 41 and above is motorcycles and fully powered vehicles.
Yeah. That's a regular motor vehicle at that point. Yeah.
Yeah, and accessibility to different walkways. I know one of the biggest concerns is sidewalks. So one enforcement component, with human powered and mobile aid devices will use sidewalks. So we're talking about bicycles and people in like wheelchairs and assisted mobility. But if you're like any kind of powered electric bike, you have to use the bike lanes or shared pathways, and it can also be on the street. And then once you get past 21 miles an hour on a vehicle, on a device, you have to be on the street. But the only one continue to be allowed to be used on highways is motorcycles.
Motorcycles, okay.
Motorcycles the only one allowed on highways. So it moves folks onto the street that are particularly 21 miles and above faster.
Right.
And given the fact that our bike lanes or whatnot, depending on the situation, some of these 21 above can't fit on a bike lane. And the enforcement's can be a little bit confusing. So we do have a task force set up to try to help set up regulatory guidelines based on the statute or based on the proposed legislation. The Senate hasn't done anything yet, so it's not law yet. But it's
all right. Okay.
It's an idea that's out there. Obviously, the Senate would need to consider this. Obviously, there'll be changes. So don't bank on this as being your final version if the Senate wants to go along with it.
Okay. And are there any kind of registration requirements for these vehicles at all?
Yeah, it'll be R&V registration for the faster mobility component.
Okay.
So, if you're we're not registering a bicycle.
No, obviously, right. Yeah.
But once you get to tier 1, which is the 21 and above, the R&V has some saying about it.
Okay. And insurance requirements too?
We're going to leave that to task force to work with R&V and figuring that part out. I do understand what you're saying on that. So there's still some unanswered questions here, as you just said, about insurance and enforcement, and better how to provide guidance for law enforcement on how to deal with this stuff at the local level. But this is kind of work in progress. Again, it may not happen. It depends on the Senate, and again, the Senate may have totally different ideas.
Sure.
So we'll wait and see how this plays out. It may not. It may or may not appear. I can't speak to that. All I know is that we're at least giving it a shot to try to create some guidance or at least some understanding of different tiers of motorized vehicles.
Yeah. Well, this is how laws are created, right? This is the process.
And it's sometimes you bring up a question the week before and I have an answer the week after.
We love that. Thank you for that, Tackey. Appreciate the research on that.
It does happen sometimes. Just happens to coincidentally work out. Your question had an answer.
Well, it's just because it's been, unfortunately, in the news with a lot of accidents with these vehicles.
Well, especially electric bike. Remember that when I went to the Rotary,
Yes.
and it's almost tunnel vision mentality. I mean, okay, look, we're Massachusetts drivers. I know our reputation, but I mean, there's a great degree of tunnel mentality regarding riding vehicles where road awareness is something you have to have around you. And I think all of us experience motorcycles zipping between you and lanes, and
Oh, yeah.
coming out of nowhere to see in your mirror, or not even see your mirror, they're just right by you, and you get freaked out because
Yes.
it's like zoom by you. And particularly if traffic isn't moving quickly and they decide to try to ride between cars.
Right. Very dangerous. Yeah.
Very dangerous. Same thing with scooters, that are over 30 miles an hour. So, um, it's, you got to share the road. You have to be respectful to folks around the road. No one dominates the road, but you got to be mindful of the fact that, if you're a bicycle that's in the middle of a lane that's slowing traffic down, even city traffic, because you're moving at 10 miles an hour, you got to figure out how to make this work, folks. I mean, I get it. And look, I mean, it's safer if everybody's aware of how to share road.
That's right. Yep. But there are exceptions, obviously, unfortunately.
And you got parked cars everywhere too. I mean, one of
Hmm.
the dangers of most likely e-bikes and bicycles is a car door opening.
Yeah. I'm curious. I wonder if it's a problem in like Amsterdam, where it's a big bike culture there.
But it's less cars.
Well, that's true. Yeah.
Europe, because of the nature of the tightness of roads, they're not car cultures. And most people live in big cities. They don't have suburban communities like we do, where you have suburban communities that drive into major urban areas to work. Everyone
Yeah.
lives in said major urban area.
Right. Or they use public transportation. Yeah.
That is inside the major urban area.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if you go to other big cities too, like in Asia, which are newer cities, relatively speaking to Boston, they do have suburban communities, but they have public transit that takes them to the urban centers because that's
Yeah.
what
It's a different culture. Yeah.
it's a different culture. It takes them to urban centers, and they pay more for public transportation per capita than we do. I mean,
Oh, yes. Lots more, but it's excellent.
it's excellent because they pay a lot more money, and
Right.
there is no government subsidies.
Right. Yep. They pay for it fully. Yeah.
Yeah, they're privatized. So I'm aware there's been moved to try to attempt to privatize the MBTA in the past. I remember Bill Weld, when it became a law,
Oh, I remember that. Yes.
attempted to do that, try to buy the T for like $5.4 billion at the time. That didn't sell, of course.
No.
But I think most public doesn't realize that some of the systems that you experience in other countries in particular, especially with the Asian countries, those are privatized systems. They're not publicly run. However, they're treated like a utility in the sense that there is a board, like a utility company, goes to a DPU. They have a similar situation. Some of these countries, like Japan, has when I visited them. When I did a trip there in 2017, where the rates, the fares are regulated by the government.
Oh,
And they treat it, I wouldn't say it's the same as what we do in this country, but the private company has to make a case for it.
sure. Yeah.
And they do that. And the government is a shareholder.
Oh, okay. All right. So they
So
have a stake in it.
Hong Kong financed the entire thing by having the government be the majority shareholder of a private company. So again, these were then at the onset of the creation of these public transportations in other countries, particularly Asian countries. Obviously our system was public transit, and the T is the oldest public transit in the country.
That's right. Yeah.
Second oldest on the planet after London. And to privatize that this deep in is pretty much a nightmare.
Yeah. Well,
So
it's a big country here. We're really spread out.
yeah, it is, and every system is non-uniform. Every community or state, depending on how it is run, has different public transportation operations, different ages, and what is the price point, and whether there's government subsidies involved.
Right.
If you took away government money from the MBTA, probably pay fares, probably 5 to 7 times more than what you're paying now. But you go to other countries, and you go to like Japan in particular, which is fascinating public transit when I visited on the work trip. Yeah, they pay a lot of money relative to their earnings. to utilize public transit, even though it's government regulated fares. It is a privatized entity, and they have shareholders. So, meanwhile, I go to last trip to Hong Kong, which I'm overdue because I've been there since 2019. The inner city components, the denser sections that have been there since the beginning, is showing a lot of sign of aging. And,
Hmm.
it is an
We
island.
know about that here.
Oh, it's starting to look more like downtown Crossing than our last trip down
Is
because
that right?
it's just they're underwater. It's like
Yeah.
us. They're very high water table tunnels.
It's an island.
It's an island.
Yeah.
So I've noticed that if you move, to the edges toward the airport, which is brand new stations, gorgeous. But as
Hmm.
noticed last trip, I was moving to the center of the city, and I've used these ones before in the center of the city in my teens. They really are aging out.
Like Park Street. Yeah.
In Park Street, it's starting to look more like Park Street. It really is. Still runs on time. Trains are great, but the nature of aging and being a high water table has
Yeah.
taken its toll.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to collapse or anything, but
Right. Right.
the idea that you can have a sparkling thing indefinitely, particularly on a high water table underground, is not realistic.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the governor signed the budget and she didn't veto anything.
Yeah, this is very surprising. I know it's an election cycle. Let's not beat around the bush on that. And obviously, people's earmarks and other policy issues that are in the budget, special interest to them, perhaps made themselves well at home or not at home. It's hard to describe. Everyone's district is very different. And the governor's looking for re-election this year, too. And we did trim the budget just here and there on her own priorities. And generally, governors, if we trim their sections, generally will respond in some way about our trimming sessions that she finds important. So we're actually very surprised there's no line vetoes, amendments, nor straight vetoes of anything in the budget. And she signed into law. And as I said before, we approved a 1 month budget for July, which is now irrelevant because she signed the law. So, everything's going to get reconciled during the October reconciliation process with the council. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm surprised as everybody else.
Yeah. So everything that was put in stands, including the city of Quincy allotments, right, for local aid.
Yeah, local aid, which I can't remember the numbers right now, but I think it's in the area of $54 million because I think it's like 48, 47, something like that for Chapter 70, another like just under 20 million, like 19 and a half a bit for unrestricted, which is they can do anything you want. So like over 50 million bucks, something like that. I can't do math in my head on the fly here. Sorry guys. Probably it's like I try and do this from memory, okay? I can't remember exactly, but it amounts to something in the area like under 30% of the city budget.
Yeah. Well, yeah, city budget's what closing in on 500 million now, so yeah.
Yeah, so under 30% of the city budget is just local aid alone. Doesn't include things like the council on aging, doesn't include the library, doesn't include veteran services, doesn't include abatement reimbursement. So those are folks that are getting abatement assistance because of senior disability or veteran. The state actually picks up a piece of that as well. We do pay pilot, the Blue Hills in particular, where payment in lieu of taxes. I mean, it's not like real property taxes, but it's something. And other types of costs like you don't see, like MWA rate relief. We provide some assistance on your water sewer bill, but you never see it because it's not like cash in your hand. It's just that bill's actually going to be lower than it should be. So those invisible assistance that we provide. So there's obviously a lot more money than just a local aid that when you start adding it together, puts a few more $1 million into the city budget.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So budget's done. So what happens over the next 2 weeks?
Well, right now we're waiting it out. So obviously the one that's chattering around the building is healthcare. We did a comprehensive healthcare bill last year in both the House and Senate, but could not survive conference committee. It had a far-ranging issue from prescription drugs to community hospitals. It was monstrous, but it was monstrous over 3 different bills. So our expectation this year was that there would be a monster bill, but one big monster bill as opposed to 3 different bills, and address the issue in one sweep. And we're waiting for that still. The Senate's something in primary care, which I don't quite understand, because community hospitals are right now the priority on survivability. I understand, like Norwood, for example, is trying to get the state to own the land, help with the costs of maintaining that hospital, which is very difficult to do a standalone. It's very expensive, and not just administration, but care. And
That's why Quincy couldn't continue. Yeah.
yeah, and employee costs are a thing because you have a shortage.
Right.
So this is a bit of this is a challenge for smaller hospitals with less revenue sources. So I don't have an answer for you. But we also have things like community health centers are kind of, in the bind
Mm-hmm.
because the big beautiful thing,
Mm-hmm.
actually goes directly after your community health center. So if you're a man, a community health center person, and well, blink Republicans in Congress because they're getting ready for shock coming October 1. And even this economic development bill, we try to provide some gap funding for community hospitals, healthcare centers, and certain educational facilities. Try to do some gap, but we can't gap forever.
Right.
We're trying to make attempts to see if we can, soften the blow, through this. But we may see, don't be surprised if you see like a quick supplemental budget in 2027, depending on how much pain we feel from the feds to try to do some gap funding
Oh, okay.
and hope for a different Congress and then see what happens. And again, it's not a uniquely Massachusetts issue. People think we're targeted. Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. He hates the delegation, the president, but the reality is that this is actually going to impact all the states and territories.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And the question is, every state and territory is going to be different on how they want to manage the issue.
Yes. And they'll
So
have different impacts too.
that's right.
Yeah.
While we have actually a very high SNAP program, I love talking about SNAP because it's the one that people recent memory. Other communities, even more dependent SNAP, even though they may have lower number of SNAP recipients because where the geography is, may be a big supporter for the local grocery industry.
Right.
So
Yeah.
while 20% statewide, SNAP supports our food markets. Some places may be higher because of density issues. So, the data sets you see state by state, but you need to drill down to the communities.
For sure. Yep.
Since SNAP is an income-based program, once you start narrowing it down, you start to see the local economic impact on SNAP. So like in Quincy, what was it like? I want to say it was like 16,000 applicants,
That sounds right.
something like that. It's been a while since I remember this data.
Yeah.
But I remember that, that's per applicant, doesn't mean per family.
Right.
So someone may have households, which means that, your neighbors may receive some form of SNAP, given that high percentage of 102,000 people. 16,000, 16%, 50, let's call it 15 for easy math. 15% of folks are applicants. And then, maybe half of them are families. So maybe, 20% plus or 25%, the city, is receiving kind of SNAP benefit,
It's a lot.
which
It's a
means
lot.
that the odds are
Yeah.
good that your neighbor may be a recipient. And, like I said, you should be careful how you speak about others because you don't know the circumstances they're in when you're standing next to you.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I say it all the time. Just don't ever wish to walk in someone else's shoes because you don't know where they're going.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. So, it is, you guys all know I've been kind of like unable to clear straight answers regarding federal impacts because until it actually hits, we don't actually have an answer for them.
Right. And information is going to be kept close to the vest, I'm sure, with the elections coming up.
Well, yeah, because it's going to impact the midterm elections and what happens. And people don't realize it's not actually just the law that's been passed, but it's the regulations that are implemented. So as the federal agencies implement the different parts of their laws that was that was done this past year in particular, you don't know what it looks like till they issue those regs. So, for example, I mean, everyone is applying for Medicaid twice, regardless of your age or status. I had questions. People ask me that question. Well, why am I doing this again? I'm like, because the federal government's making this, not me. And it's very, very daunting. Some folks, particularly if, let's say, you're much older and you don't have people assisting you, it could cause you to lose your Medicaid benefits because it can be very scary.
Right, because the requirements have changed. Yeah.
Yeah, fortunately for my mom, I'm here to help her. Not everybody, is able to do that. And we encourage people to do Shine services and counselor aging services and contact the AARP,
Yes.
and other local service agencies to help them out. But not everyone can get to it or reach it or deal with it. And some of it's put on a computer now, which also is intimidating for certain people in different age brackets. And if you don't speak English as a first language, I went through this with mom's initial Medicaid application back in like 2014,
Mm.
13. It was like brutal.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So reapplication authorization process, it's going to be difficult for a lot of folks, particularly those who are, not English proficient, but also folks that are older. And you may have done it okay, when you were 65, but now you're, closing in on 80. And it's not the same time.
So different, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
different, and I think that's lost on bureaucrats.
Oh boy. Well, stay tuned. October should be very interesting this year.
Yeah, yeah, and we won't be out of formal sessions. So,
Right.
like I said, this is like an emergency session called, or a lot of stuff we're gonna have to start dealing with in the fall, in the winter time after October 1, and then take action after swearing in day next year. Presuming I'm back next year, we never know how life is going to play out, but it could be a very rapid start to next session. I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but we could find ourselves in a rapid start depending on our reaction to the federal government. If we didn't have to work with the federal government, the pacing would be very different.
It looks like the Iran war is back on full swing.
Yeah, I, am I not surprised? I mean, it's the Iranis, and they don't trust us, and we don't trust them. This ain't complicated. I mean, the president, broke the first deal, which upset them. Which again, president's prerogative as administration changes. And then, he did one strike and said we're done, and then allowed a short war with Iran, Israel, Iran last year, and then he hit the nuclear facilities and said we're done, and now we hit him again and and said we're done, and then we hit him again. Again, how many times can you do something over and over again? They can't trust you. Conversely, you can't trust them either. Where they say, "Well, we're not shooting at ships," then they start shooting at ships again. I mean, this is a
Right.
real quandary. We have two sides that literally do not trust each other because they keep doing things to each other, or we're actually innocent bystanders in the case of cargo ships,
Mm,
and the Arab countries around it. It really just there as targets. It's hard to trust them, and it's also creating some distrust among our Arab allies because it was a commitment that this would be quick and easy, and it didn't turn out that way. And they're in billions of dollars of damages collectively caused by Iran, of which it's not like the U.S. is going out there to bail them out unless I'm missing a news article someplace. I know they're rich, but we instigate, and now it's just getting weird again. We're gonna, you're gonna have two blockades yet again, which is wacky. There are ships not going into the strait. Well, the strait had some ships released, and still many left. Many ships are not going into it because they're afraid they can't get back out,
right.
which is a problem for everything from fertilizer, aluminum to natural gas and oil, which means
Hmm.
that the spot market on oil and natural gas hasn't quite accounted for the fact that people aren't going in. China's been hoarding oil for a long time. They're kind of holding out on needing more demand. And then you got Saudis who got this extra pipeline across to the other side of the country, but there's only so much capacity there. So yeah, again, the markets, particularly the oil market, doesn't reflect the current situation, and I just don't understand how come it's not. Because when you list all those factors of less ships going in, even when the strait was open, not all the ships got in out. And I know there's reduced demand globally, but there's a lot of demand still in developing nations for fossil fuels. It's very confusing what's going on. And today's CPI report is 3.5, which is actually very good because they're anticipating 3.8, especially after the hot report last time out.
Right.
The PCE is floating like a 2.5. So that's a good sign too. But that's also a sign of a volatile energy issue where, we had volatile energy prices in May going into June. And now, second half of June, it started stabilizing and shows a reduction in the CPI.
Hmm.
This change again. Let's say August, things get hot again. We go to September, does the CPI in August go up? It's going to be very inconsistent. And Iranians are very tactical thinkers. They understand domestic politics in other countries. The regime does not care about their population, so it makes it easy to make decisions.
Right.
They are fragmented between the Republican Guard and the clergy government, which I'm sure they'll find a resolution eventually.
Mm.
And don't be surprised if the Iranians decide to cause chaos going into the midterm elections, where you and I will feel some more consumer pain on purpose as they try to muck around with the midterm elections. And we already
Right.
know the Russians, the Chinese, and the Iranis, the North Koreans, and others, constantly hack our systems. And we all, well, I try not to, but we all have social media accounts, and they data mine by hacking and just mining out there. So you don't actually have to crack Meta. You put so much information on the internet. With the advent of artificial intelligence, they just mine everything out there to create, AI ads. It's not uniquely a first world ability to create AI and artificial ads. I mean, people think it's like limited to just first world countries. No, I mean, terrorist groups can utilize the same technology. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
you could see some really awful advertising stuff coming up.
yeah. I mean, it's to the point now you don't know what you're seeing or hearing if it's real or made up, by AI. It's almost it's getting to that point now.
Absolutely correct. And, nefarious actors, people being, whatever they are at home behavior. I mean, people should not be fooled in not believing that U.S. adversaries and European adversaries or anti-Japanese or anti-Taiwan, if they, when their elections happen next, and so forth, that terror groups and other, adversarial nations, won't data mine your Facebook account,
Hmm.
Twitter account, or whatever accounts, and then start creating advertising that feeds into your fears. And that's the objective: create fear, and you will respond accordingly.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I think the Secretary of State is holding a summit talking about these quote unquote far left terrorist groups that are, a constant danger to this country.
No, yeah, I mean that's absolutely correct. As much people talk about, elections here, the reality is foreign influence is not new. Before we had computers, uh, you know, you had communists and Nazis back in the pre-World War II period during the Great Depression, trying to rally causes, against the Democratic
Hmm.
establishment. People forgot the Nazi Party was a real thing in America.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. That's they utilized what they had at the time, the flyers and radio and magazines, things like that.
In rallies in public areas.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, prior to start of World War II, I mean, the Nazi Party was a real thing that no one talks about anymore. So foreign interference isn't new, I'm telling you.
Oh, right. No, yes, for sure. Yeah.
It just, again, it keeps on evolving and changing with the population. And these folks study us to try to figure out what appeals to the demographic they want to target, and then proceed to sow seeds of discontent and doubt between us as people and neighbors, to try to, break up our solidarity.
Mm.
That's what they do. And that's why I bring up the Nazi Party back in the 20s and 30s, which is clearly German, German
Hmm.
government influence.
Hmm.
But again, people back then didn't have like foreign newspapers. You couldn't like read the news overseas. People, didn't have access to information you have today, which you can do your own research what's going on in foreign countries.
Right.
And you guys will know, like, I'm very much interested in foreign affairs when I have spare time to look at other people's news, particularly on YouTube, because you can get almost anything now on people's rebroadcasts.
Yes. The world is very small now, that's for sure.
Yeah, remember the days when we had newspapers and you had to go to the foreign correspondence sections of the New York Times and the Globe?
Yes, of course I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, that was the extent of our foreign ability to get news. No, you have to pick up like The Economist or Time Magazine or The New Yorker or any other things you can pick up in the library to read about what's going on in foreign affairs.
Time will tell, right? Speaking of social media, what is the social media bill? I know the House has passed theirs. How about the Senate?
Yeah, it's in conference committee because the
Okay.
social media age limitation was wrapped up in the cell phone ban. And
Yep, that's right.
to remind folks, you don't need the legislature to do cell phone ban in schools. They can do that on their own. See,
Yes, that's right.
two
That's
committees
true.
are working on that here. So it's kind of a redundant law depending on where you are. So that's in Congress committee right now. The data privacy piece included some stuff on campaign honesty regarding your advertising,
Hmm.
to try to you can't really truly regulate it, but try to bring greater attention to the issue about artificially created advertising in political campaigns and proper
Mm.
disclosure. As you may see in articles and now advertising, they will list at the bottom of the screen or a byline in news articles saying that AI helped generate part of an article, whether it be
I've seen that.
research
Yeah.
or writing.
Yep.
And I think it's interesting because we use AI for research. You know, depending on AI, you can actually still find the source links. I've done that before, and I just hit the link and try to read the material where it came from. So it's interesting. We're moving to a world where trying to figure out, how best to disclose to the public, even if it's like, I won't name the commercial ad, but I mean it's clearly not real. But they felt the need to say it was artificially generated, even though the ad itself is ridiculous. There's no way this is real life.
Oh,
Um,
I've seen some of them. Yeah, some of the car companies I know are using it, and
yeah, we're not going to promote them, but
oh, certainly not. No, yeah,
just pointing out that even if it looks fake, like legit fake, they are disclosing using artificial intelligence.
yes, right. Yep, yep. Yeah, it's a whole new world for sure.
It is, and I don't. Again, we lived through people photoshopping stuff and putting into ads long before we had access to the internet. Um, People forgot mud raking was in the days in the early 20th century, 1800s, where everybody could get a printing press, could write whatever they want,
That's right.
just throw it out there. And civility in politics is relatively late 20th century. And I wouldn't say it's perfect, but I mean, it's far from the, early 20th century and the 19th century. And we'll see where the pendulum swings this time.
Hmm. Hmm. What's going on in the district these days, Jackie?
It's been pretty quiet overall. Obviously, I survived July 4th. There's a Germantown event for families this Saturday. Actually, I did march with the Brigham nurses on their strike
Oh,
last week. I went on the day of the strike on Wednesday in the morning.
hmm.
Saw some folks out there standing with the nurses. The city actually has a lot of nurses, a lot of
Yes.
unions also. And then we we're pretty quiet at this point going into the end of the month on district related stuff. So, you know, we're really kind of hyper focused right now on trying to get through the next 15 odd days of the session, trying to pivot quickly once we get notice of what's going on. And we discussed this a little before earlier. I discussed this on every so often. Is that when you get less than 24 hours notice, staff and us, and not just me, all the legislators need to make some very quick decisions strategically about where we need to be, what we need to do, and whether or not we're going to take amendments on or not take amendments
Mm,
on. And as a committee chair, when subject matters of mine makes an appearance, do I want to get how engaged I need to be to address the issue? So
hmm.
it's it's a hurry up and pop
Right,
quickly
right.
when something pops.
Yeah.
And experience matters. I know we say this quite a bit, but if you've been around a little while and you made your share of mistakes early on, you're better prepared for when things just happen and you gotta respond quickly.
Yeah. Are there any like ceremonial formalities that happen on the last day of the session?
No, no,
No.
it's really every year we open the session. There's a formalities or ceremony,
Yeah.
but not a close of a legislative session. And we don't prorogue, which means you shut the place down. Period. We still have the 72-hour law that requires us to appear at least an informal session.
Hmm.
And I mentioned last call. I mean, we could be finding ourselves moving very quickly again during the holiday season and be trying to move some smaller, non-controversial technical bills because that's all I do these days is technical bills. So, like we talked to economic development bill, I got a couple of pieces in regarding the CPA stuff that came out of committee. Same thing with the home inspectors that also came out of committee. And we got this bill coming up tomorrow regarding pets, which we could talk a little bit more about next call once the debate is over. But, I got two pieces near regarding veterinary technician licensing, which is based on my research in industry is due,
Yep.
as well as the technical correction on senior citizens having their pets in senior housing, which was inadvertently left out when they did the reorganization of the what is now called the Executive Office of Livable Communities, which is what we know as housing. So
Gotcha.
again, I don't have the most exciting stuff. Uh,
Well, they've started repaving C Street. That's a big state project.
that actually is a city project.
Ah, but the state is helping, I think.
That's correct.
Yeah.
This is the misconception about that project people keep having. The city hired the state as a contract. The state is paying for it. $10 million of your state taxpayer money and grant monies is a combination of monies. It's paying for the project means it's not coming off a part of the city bond. It is city supervised. The state is the contractor.
Gotcha. Okay. But it started and it's been long awaited, I know.
Yeah, and I know the sidewalks kind of cracked up, so hopefully they'll do that second set of repairs. They have the medium strip kind of lined up already with the barriers. That's city has ability to do plantings, I believe they want to, and they have new street lights up for a while as well as the traffic lights. So this has been a project that's been in discussion since like 2012, preliminary discussions. And we had it was stimulated because of two fatalities, particularly coming out of the Adams Shore area where Germantown, Adams Shore, and House Neck intersection there at Palmer and C, going downhill in particular, because you can zip down there like 40 miles an hour before you can blink. So, it's everything from that area in Palmer all the way to Quincy Drive. Quincy Drive's right turn lane from C Street. I'm sorry, on C Street onto Quincy Drive. I actually got that funding for that way back in my early days to put that right hand lane. PJ Foley asked me, can it be done? And worked on it for 3 years to see, to make that funding happen. And it created an interesting hook that allowed the city to engage the state, because that part was a state project, city-state combination project, because C Street's city and then the state is obviously going to drive, to actually hook the city. City could hook back the state as assistance for total C Street project. So it's pretty interesting work, and a lot of effort by the city to do this. I mean, this is a city project. The city put a lot of work into this for over a decade to make this project happen. And on a side note, I'm aware that there's some speeding issues again. I know that coming off of Somerset, it's dangerous. I have the same issue as you all in Marymount when I drive through there, visiting folks, and we brought attention to state police to see if they can figure out how to do timely appearances, during certain random times of the day to try to bring traffic down. You never want to put a trooper or a city cop regularly all the time in the same place unless it's like a school crossing. You want them randomly appearing so people don't realize they're there until they get tagged.
Yes, that's the best way to enforce, that way it's not predictable.
Yeah, you'd never want predictable enforcement unless you're in a school zone.
Obviously, that's for safety first. Yeah.
So we're working on that too. I know some folks in Maryland brought that up to me.
Very good. All righty. How do we get a hold of you, Tackey?
Well, we're obviously going to be around for 15 more days in the office. The staff is there. Today is virtual meeting day. Obviously, when you see me at the home, there are no in-person meetings. And I do have actually a pickup call after this call as well. So 617-722-2370, 617-722-2370, room 42 of the State House, tackey.chan at mahouse.gov, tackey.chan at mahouse.gov is the email. State Representative Tackey Chan of this corresponding Instagram page. You can follow us there, as well as malegislature.gov. You can see our coming and going on the state website, as well as the legislature's website, as well as tackeychan.org, which people actually do use as a contact page and a resource. And of course, QATV at qatv.org. You got a special request to Joe about talking about anything. Frankly, we don't care. You want to talk about something that's not politics, happy to do so.
Yes, a recipe for barbecued wings or something. Who knows?
Who knows? Whatever floats your boat, folks. If you want to talk about something different, and we'll let the audience know that we had a request to do so people won't be surprised. We welcome it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to hear from folks. All right, I will check in next week. Stay cool, Tackey.
You two all be safe and be well.